everyone, welcome back. So it's a little bit of a different setup than I normally have, but we'll get into why that is in a little bit. I wanted to hop on and just do a quick planner update. I know it has been many months, and that's mainly because I've moved pretty much halfway across the country. I'm no longer in California, I'm now in Texas, and yes, I did make it through the big snowstorm, but because of that, and my office is not fully set up, I'm waiting for flooring, which for several reasons got delayed. So anyway, I figured I would just make do with what I have. The lighting's a little wonky, the camera will probably shake, but you know, hey, it is what it is, and hopefully we'll get back to the more professional filming later. So this is kind of what I'm using right now. It's changed quite a bit since the last time I did a planner update. Kind of show you what I'm doing. I guess if I had to pick a planner that I'm using most, it would be this one. So let me tuck those off to the side really quick. So this is actually something I have never used before, personally. It's a Hobonichi Cousin. And because I know I'm actually going to get asked about this, this is a Uniball Jetstream pen. I'll link it down below. I got it from Jet Pens, but it is a multi-pen, so it has black, red, and then a pencil in it, which is good because I'm always using a pencil when I'm doing some forward planning and some of my other planners, so it is nice to have it around. And the Uniball ink does not smear in here, at least not as much as the gel ink, which I've discovered. So I did get a cover on cover. I got the kind of the aqua color with the gray inside. So just a kind of a quick flip through. I'm using the yearly view here for paydays and then holidays, just to keep track of that, especially since I'm involved in the payroll aspect of things, so that's important for me to know. On the kind of overview, I'm keeping track of what's on the daily pages if it's something I want to reference again. So for instance, I got this in the middle of February, so I am using the first part of the year, January through wherever, for collections. So January 1st, I have kind of an emergency preparedness checklist. Things I want to buy, things I want to do. This was already something I have been doing, but I will not lie. The storm we just went through kind of revealed some holes in our emergency preparedness that I'm like, okay, things I need to take care of. So other thing, you know, be like hiring or onboarding ideas, information about the flooring delivery, a note about cast iron and baking. Because one of the days I was making bread, and about halfway through, it was 30-minute cooking time, 15 minutes through, the power went out. But I was cooking in cast iron, and after 30 minutes, the bread came out perfect. So I think that the cast iron held the heat long enough that it was able to finish cooking. So I wanted to make sure I remembered that. So that's kind of what I have in here, is those sorts of notes. And then down here at the bottom, I'm using this for quarterly goals. The annual goals I actually have here on kind of this new year spread that they have. And then on the months, I'm just doing my normal like forward planning. So I am keeping track of my monthly goals over here on the left. I'm sure I will get asked. The tabs came from the same place that I got the stencils, which is Dear Lily Designs. She has an Etsy store, but most of her items are actually on her shop. So I'll link that down below in case you're curious. And then most of my stickers in here are from Plan for Happy, which is a printable shop that I found on Etsy. And then I do have a few like Once More with Love and Coffee Monsters Co. stickers mixed in here too. And that's random. I wonder where that came from. Planner Kate. I don't know why there's a payday sticker like stuck in the middle. It must have flipped off. Who knows? Anyway. So that's where these tabs are from, and they just kind of tuck on top so I can quickly flip to things. So after that, I am using the weeks kind of as a weekly overview. This was this last week. I have these to where when I pull, it flips to this page. So if you're wondering why it looks like I have this referencing last week, for me it isn't. But you can see I basically didn't do a whole lot because we had rolling blackouts. So I got some work done, but it was probably power was out 20 to 30 minutes every couple of hours. So it's kind of hard to get a lot of stuff done. Let's just be honest. So anyway, and I'm pretty much only planning 1 week out. I did because I'll be traveling this week, so I went ahead and put stuff down. I mentioned I have my yearly goals here, and then I'm using January, which is empty because I didn't have it, for collections. So I just have some ideas for collections I might want to have here. And then as far as dailies go, on the first page of the month, I have my monthly projects for that month. And then some of this may get blurred out just because of what might be on here. So I have my schedule here. Usually I have kind of what my home tasks are, and then most important priorities, and then just notes or whatever. So that's pretty much how each of the days is set up. If I run out, or if I don't write a lot, it's fine, whatever. I just move on to the next day. I have started trying to highlight what it is that I wanted to remind myself. So this is kind of what I'm referencing on that page up here in the front. I've gone ahead and highlighted it just so I can find it kind of quickly. So anyway, that's kind of how I'm using it. As you can see, I didn't use it on Saturday, but that's all right. And then here's today. And I don't know what I got on here, but I have... Yeah, it goes away. I got something kind of oily on it, evidently. Don't know. So that's pretty much how I'm using the front section in here. The back section is, there's a few note pages in the back. I'm not going to go through and do like a full-on flip through. There's so many of those. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I'm using it. So there is that. So this is kind of like a catch-all work planner, kind of my life in one spot sort of a thing. The other thing I've been playing with is Planner Perfect. So long story short, her method is a lot about scripting the life that you want. And I'm kind of recreating what I want my life to look like because things are so much different here in Texas, and different in a good way, not different in a bad way. But I'm kind of seeing this as a chance to reinvent myself. So I'm being a lot more intentional about life rather than just to-do lists and things like that, which is kind of what's represented by my cousin. So, plus this allows me to use my regular or narrow traveler's notebooks, which is something that I also love. So this is actually one of her notebooks. I do still have my black Vanderspeck. I actually just switched out of that just so I could have something in a different color. But I do like her pocket arrangements and the fact that she has a plan back here in the back. It's not a plan, notepad in the back. So my first book is just basically the year at a glance, and in between each month she actually has 4 blank pages. I have not started using those yet. I don't know what I will use them for, if I will use them, but that's serving me for what I need. These may have some things blurred out as well, so just as fair warning. So this is kind of a repeat of what's in the front, but this is usually what I'm updating. Unless it's something super important that I want to make sure I have to reference in the future, in which case I'll put it in here. The goals pages, it kind of depends on the month. I am kind of going back and redoing some of my routines. So I have that on this page, some house projects I'm working on, some personal admin sort of stuff as well. Then she has a week at a glance, and then there is space for daily pages in here. So something happened with my plan book subscription, and for some reason it got reset and I did not get February's early. So I ordered it as soon as it was available, so it showed up on, I think, Friday. So Usually how my day is structured is I kind of write out what I want my morning to look like, what I think my morning routine will be, what I'm having for breakfast. I don't keep work stuff in here. It's more kind of about personal stuff, things I want to do outside of work. So you'll kind of see, like, I usually have a lot of stuff written in the mornings and the evenings, but kind of this midday point is not a lot there. Saturday and Sunday each get one day just because of how the pages fall, which is fine, because honestly that's probably all of the space that I actually need. I have toyed with the idea of combining and doing like 1 page per day for a lot of days, and then having a page or 2 for a weekly review. Have not pulled the trigger on that yet. I may at some point in the future. So this is also kind of my using washi tape, because I have a ton of it. And her sub boxes come with it, but I also add in, because she has 3 rolls that usually come. For variety, I add others. This is Cocoa Daisy washi tape from last February. Same with this. This is Simply Gilded washi tape. So again, I didn't get the sub box this month because of the issue that I had, and so I used washi tape I already had. I think this was Simply Gilded also. It might have been Cocoa Daisy, I don't remember. I do know this was Simply Gilded. So it's just pulled out what I had and decided to use kind of what I have. So I did start toying with the idea of highlighting behind appointments just to make them stand out a little bit more. But if there's blank space, it's fine. It's okay. So this was the week of the snowstorm. So it's more journaling, things that I thought I wanted to get done, but honestly I just sat on the couch. So yeah, it's just kind of how it goes, and it's fine. So this is kind of the rest of the month. And then she also includes a journal, and this year she's been doing more of a prayer journal type of setup. So that is actually how I've been using it, which I've really enjoyed. So I'm not going to go through all the pages, but usually I try and do some sort of decorative stuff. I am trying to use what I have. This was from last year's Cocoa Daisy kit. I figure, you know, I might as well dig through. If I can find whatever month I'm looking for, I'll just put it in. So the first tab I have intercessions. So pretty much anytime anybody asks me to pray for somebody, or some sort of prayer request, that goes in this section. The next section is prayers and praises. So this is kind of more where I journal out prayers. So that's what's in this section. So it's more like long free-form writing. And then the last section is for study notes. And we were supposed to be reading Fervent by Priscilla Schreier. Anyway, probably not pronouncing that correctly. I have read it before, and I meant to go back and reread it. This month has been kind of weird, so I have not gotten to that, but I do kind of keep these books out for the ones with the study notes so that I can just go back and fill that in. And then the last book I have in here is my meal planner. So I got a little bit behind writing these down because I do also still use Plan to Eat. So usually I will sit there and plan stuff and Plan to Eat first, and then I will write it down in here just so I kind of have a paper version so I don't have to keep like flipping back and forth. But her meal planning books have the month, so you can plan out meals. 1 month of meals. So for me, I usually divided up breakfast, lunches, dinners, snacks, and treats, kind of like whatever's seasonal, whatever sounds good, just ideas. So when I go to figure out what I want to do for the next week, then I just look here for ideas. And then there's a spot for baking days, which I am starting to get into a little bit more. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in this planner. But one of my projects this month, and I started it, I think somewhere around here in the first week of February, I started a sourdough starter from scratch. And I'm pretty proud of myself. It's actually doing really well. The bread that I was baking that went out in the middle of baking time was actually a loaf of sourdough. It was still very new sourdough. It was only a week old, so I ended up having to add yeast to it to get it to rise, but it did bake up and it was really good. So anyway, now that we kind of have a little bit of a slower lifestyle with me working remotely and being home quite a bit. I'm doing some stuff that I've always wanted to do, like I bought a wheat mill so I can grind my own wheat and do some stuff like that. So that's kind of where I'm spending a lot of my extra time, we'll put it that way. Cooking and having fun and, you know, just being around the same location as my husband and having somebody to cook for besides just myself, which is kind of nice. So I didn't really, again, this month has been kind of weird. I didn't really get a lot of this filled out. I filled it out at the beginning of the month with like what I thought I might want to do, but when I started my sourdough starter, like this, a lot of the stuff will change probably when I go to do March, which is coming up here pretty quick. So, and some of this information is actually transferred to that right there. So I'll talk about that in a second. So that's kind of what her setup is for the meal planning book. So that is that. I am using a gray brush marker. Sometimes I'm using those Tombow brush pens as well. The dual, like really long duotip ones in here. And then the Lamy fountain pens. So these are the, I don't think they're Safari, I think they're All-Star, AL All-Star ones. So I have a couple different colors of those. I am still using my vanishing point, the Pilot vanishing point, which you guys have seen in previous videos if you've watched them. Still love all of them. I just kind of switch kind of based on color and what I feel like using. So this one's not as pretty, but it is functional. So this is one that I printed from the website, obviously. Let me flip this open so you can see it. Get rid of the glare. So this is from Jill Winger. She has a website called the Prairie Homestead. So just to kind of flip through on this really quick. Let me move this out of the way. My office is a wreck. We will get there when the flooring gets done. So there's kind of a thing about how to use this planner, and I'm not actually using all of this. It is kind of aimed at people who do a little bit more homesteading, which we are wanting to get more into growing our own food. I think I mentioned before we had our own vegetable garden in California. We were on 1/3 of an acre. We now have over 1.5 acres. So we have a little more room, which is why I'm kind of starting to utilize other things and do other things aside from just kind of what my life was like in California. So she has a project planner, so there's like a brain dump, prioritize your projects, and then like pick 3 or 4 and kind of break them down so you can get them done. Then there is a 2-page spread, so this is undated. The planner is actually $17. Yes, you have to print it yourself. It's like 240 pages, but I printed it black and white, and I don't mind filling stuff in. So she has a spot for an expense tracker and a spot for a habit tracker. So this was kind of where I started with this in February. So kind of a bread making project and then replacing the carpet, which is why my office is wrecked, because this is what still needs to happen. So the month for me is actually more about home stuff. Like I'm not keeping work stuff in here. It's more about recording when I did certain things. So here, I started my sourdough starter on the 7th. It was, I think, I'm gonna say Saturday when I tried to make bread and discovered that our stand mixer, our KitchenAid, is not powerful enough to handle bread dough, at least not in that quantity. I think we have one of like the lower powered ones, and so it was kind of all over the place. And I was like, okay. So I ordered a new mixer that actually can handle bread dough. It's made to. Made some notes for myself as far as emergency things that I've learned this month. We have water bricks for water storage that we had not yet filled. Needed to do that. Thankfully, we did not lose any water. We just had the rolling blackouts. I want to make sure I put a couple of blankets or a blanket and a towel in the back of my car just in case of emergency. Put a flashlight in my glove box. I do want to go through my shoes. I have so many of them, and some of them I probably won't wear anymore just because of life changes. And then I wanted to get some 5-pound buckets of wheat berries and rice, and then some lids to kind of go with those. So that's what that looks like. I do have, so any expenses related to what we're doing, I am going to kind of keep track of here. It's not going to be all my expenses, but just kind of the big ones. And then I've been feeding my sourdough starter. I have not been keeping up with it. So that was kind of what I was using this for, was tracking the sourdough starter being fed. So I basically just went through after this and numbered everything in. So the sticker kit that I used for the Hobonichi Cousin that was printable, I did not use all the tabs. So I went ahead and grabbed, I had used one of them. So I ended up just using one of these tabs here. It's one of those like post-it note ones. But then I went ahead and put stickers on the rest of them, which is fine because I did not do anything in this book in January anyway. So after the months, then there are week pages. And this is where I get kind of messy. Just a word of warning. So she has, let me show you a clear one here. So there's a section for my priorities, a section for food prep, a shopping list, Homestead and life. So these are to-do lists. So want to do at the bottom, have to do at the top. So it kind of helps you prioritize a little bit. Then there's a blank spot here, and then it's just like a vertical hourly. And then very lightly in the boxes, it says breakfast, lunch, dinner. Honestly, when you write over that, you can't see it. Like I can barely see it as it is just looking at it. So that is kind of what I was using it for, was dinner. But if you wanted to put your priorities or something in here, you could. So this is kind of the current week. This is when I'm like, why do I write in pen? Because my meal plan's all over the place. I've changed a bunch of things. So I am still trying to figure out how exactly I want to use this, which is fine. But I did write a few appointments and stuff this week just because I do have things happening, meetings and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm going to continue to do that. I did like just having it only life stuff outside of work. I'm trying to get a life outside of work. Does that make sense? Just like, I feel like that's all I do is work. So there's a lot. There's like all the weeks for the year. So they're all undated. So if I don't use it one month, that's fine. I just skip it and I can always use it next time I use a planner in the next year. So then she has a section called Make It. So there's substitutions, conversions, a spot for what's in my pantry, which I actually do this on my phone. Kind of a what you should keep in your pantry. She does also have a cookbook, which is where I got my rustic bread recipe that I used a lot during quarantine. It's really good, super easy. It's the Prairie Homestead cookbook is the name of her cookbook. And then there's kind of a 2 weeks of menu inspiration if you want to do that. If you're doing any canning or preservation, you can make a note of what you canned, how many, like when, so you can keep track of that. She has some quick cheat sheet sorts of information. Another spot for canning and preservation records and like when you're using them, a fermentation log, information on sourdough starters, and then some tips on using sourdough. All right, so the next section she has is called Grow It, a couple more note pages, seed pages, I can't talk, seed stash, harvest log, companion planting information, crop rotation, spot for garden designs, sun mapping. So just trying to mark where your sun exposure happens during the day, which is especially important if you have a lot of trees. Spot for a garden journal. And then back here, the very last section says record it. So there's an annual expense tracker. If you're actually doing any sorts of animal breeding or raising any animals, you have a spot for breeding and health records. Important dates if you just want to kind of keep track of what's going on overall. Memories and milestones. Books to read this year, skills to master this year, and then just some note pages and some grid pages, and that's the end. So that's what I'm kind of using to kind of get myself organized. And my stray payroll sticker, I don't know where that don't know why that was there. So that's kind of what I'm using for my personal house planner sort of thing. We'll see. This may change at some point in the future, but it is nice to have it all in one spot right now while I'm trying to figure out what I want life to look like at the moment. I think a lot of my focus has been on slow living and taking time for me, because I feel like in California I was in a rat race, and I live outside of a small town here, so there's no reason to be in a rat race, and that's my choice if I want to be, and my choice is I do not. So anyway, that's part of why you have not seen a lot from me, is I'm still trying to get myself unpacked, because we went from, hey, you have a job offer, to completely in a new location, including buying and selling houses and everything, between October and December. So that was a fast move, a fast find a place to live, sell something, buy something, pack it, get everything packed up, get everything moved. And it's funny, I keep getting asked, well, why are you so tired? Well, because I just picked myself up and moved myself halfway across the country, and I was already exhausted. So I just am trying to slow things down. So if I don't have a lot of videos posting for a little bit, that's why I'm trying to get myself put back together again and find lights for my camera setups and get flooring installed. And, in 2 or 3 weeks here, it'll be time to start putting in a vegetable garden and stuff. And I'm toying with the idea of starting a separate channel and doing kind of a vlog style, like homestead setup sort of situation on YouTube. We'll see if that happens. I don't know. That's one of those things where it's like, and yet it's another thing to do. So we'll see if that happens. But right now, this is all serving me really well. So just kind of like what's going on at work and just in general life stuff here. This is more specific, like personal life focused, whether it's, trying to create new routines, trying to figure out what I want my day to look like if it's not the rat race that I've been experiencing. And then this is kind of helping me get things going with the house and our property, and figuring out, what do we want that to look like? What are we planting? Although I will say, I'm not doing all of that by myself. My husband grew up on a farm, and so he is very excited about having room for a larger vegetable garden. We're now the proud owners of a tractor. So it's been an adventure. It's an exciting adventure, but I also need a chance to kind of slow down for a little bit and just enjoy life. Yeah. So anyway, that's where I am, and that's what I'm using. And as you know, now that I've filmed this video, it'll probably change tomorrow, because that's how I work. But I am really enjoying the Planner Perfect method. And to be honest, I was kind of wondering if I would stick with the Cousin or not, but this has actually been just enough room. I have the weekly view. I have a spot to go into actually quite a bit in depth of the daily, so I'm enjoying that as well. And then this is kind of like almost a place, it's printer paper, that I printed on my printer. So if I use it as scratch paper trying to write stuff down, I don't care. It's not like it's a super nice fancy printer. Anyway, hope that was helpful. I know it was a little chatty, probably a little long, but just figured I would catch you guys up to where I am and what I've been up to. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are interested in more planning videos, there are more coming. Go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.